what should we take away from how feisty things were yesterday in the Packers joint practice with the Seahawks?
Yeah, nothing. Although I will say this, Xavier McKinney really liked it. Now, Xavier McKinney only did individual drills, so he wasn't actually involved in the scuffles. But he said, look, this is who we want to be. It's part of their desire to be more physical and intimidating. And so he liked the fact that, they stood up for each other and got after the opponent and all that. My favorite line was from Keyshawn Nixon, who was like, why are you guys surprised that there were fights at a joint practice? He said, what was surprising was that there wasn't one in Indy, which I thought was pretty good perspective because there's usually some of this stuff. But I will say, I was down at the end with the Packers offense against the Seahawks defense. And those were really good fights. Like, Chewy, you had some in your day. I remember in 2019, I was just texting with Tim Van Boren trying to remember who the safety was for the Texans. But on the second day, during a thud period, he laid out Jay Sternberger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely crushed him. And that set off a big-time fight. And then I don't remember at what point it was in Sitton's career. It was after Bulaga was there, though, because Bulaga was on the field for it. There was a huge fight, and it was, Packers on Packers. And Sitton was, running around the field with his helmet off, ready to use it as a weapon. So there have been other big fights, but, yesterday was interesting. It spiced things up, but I wouldn't read too much into it.
Jason, I see Jordan Love in 7-on-7 red zone went 3 for 12. That is terrible. Is that the receivers or was that decision making? Were you there for that period?
I was. I want to publicly thank Jordan and Matt LaFleur because usually when I'm doing Wilde and Tausch from the sideline, they have all the good stuff happening at the opposite end of the field. And yesterday, both of the offensive fights and all 9 of Jordan's incompletions and 3 completions were I had the best seats in the house. Other than the fact that maybe the people that were behind the fence when the second fight spilled in, I mean, it went up against the fence. It was like a UFC match, they were in the octagon. I think it was a combination of things. And by the way, one of the 3 completions he had was a touchdown to Kraft where the defender fell down. So, I could have made that throw. Again, I know, and I came around and said, sure, this is valuable, and I'm sorry for being a helicopter beat writer. So there was value in it, but, yeah, it wasn't good. And 7-on-7 is supposed to be very heavily weighted toward the offense. And in the previous ones he did, on Tuesday, he cooked. It was 10 for 11 or 11 for 12. And this was in the red zone. And we asked Jordan about it afterward. And yeah, the windows are tighter and everything else. But, there was some, I will say this too, the defense gets paid too. And, multiple pass breakups by the Seahawks. So, it was a good period, not for him, but in terms of competitively. And I think you probably learn a little bit more from not being successful than you learn from going against your own guys and going 11 for 12 with 8 touchdowns.
Our conversations with Jason Wilde brought to you by Lakeland Supply. They're in business to make your business better. Set up a free packaging and supply chain assessment, lakelandsupply.com. Going back to the fights, Jason, Keyshawn Nixon told someone they were talking crazy for a bald person. Is he going to have a problem with our buddy Rob Demoski for the rest of the year?
Well, yeah, they asked him about that. Matt Steinman from The Athletic and Rob went over there and asked him if he was referring to Rob. He wasn't. So I don't think that will be an issue. I believe Keyshawn's explanation was the guy that was bald was 21 years old, And so apparently he was, he's got a nice flowing locks. He's very lucky that way.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you offended because you're trending in the wrong direction here, or
Me?
what? Yeah.
I'm not offended. I thought it was funny that he just tried to be like, oh, did I say that? And then like, oh, he's 21 and bald. There's a difference. So he clearly remembered saying it. Jason.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Like they gave him. I mean, they asked Gabe. I could play back the tape for you. They were like, he started his press session with us, and those two like asked all about Rob, and if it involved Rob, like it wasn't about the fight. Like that was how it started, and they gave him multiple prompts to help him remember. Because I said, when you start talking trash, how much do you like remember after the fact that you're saying? And he said a lot of times he blacks out, and I can actually see that, right? Like you get that riled up and you start saying stuff, you're saying some crazy stuff yourself. So again, by the way, I feel like Chewy's gentle but still very good shot at you there deserved a little more attention, and we just kept going right past it, which is a little disappointing. But I don't look. It is funny to me, not the bald part. Forget that for a second. The fact that this then spilled over into after the practice was over.
Yeah,
like that to me was even more amazing. Like. They were, they had like all come together and they'd had their little, hey, 1, 2, 3, love or whatever they were yelling. And then it like I had walked over to Mike McDonald's press conference. So like, I saw somebody texted me and said, hey, there's another fight. I'm like, what? Practice has been over for like 9 minutes. It never actually got physical again, but there were definitely people that were jawing and Elton Jenkins, whether it's a less than stellar atmosphere at an Atlanta strip club or a joint practice, he probably needs to get his temper under control a little bit, because he also got kicked out of the Cincinnati joint practice a couple of years ago. And there's some confusion as to whether he was told he was kicked out of practice because he was part of the fight with Zach Tom, or if his back started to act up and they pulled him for 2 minutes. But they ran 2 minutes without both Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins, and they were already without Aaron Banks for that. So they were missing 3 of their 5 starters.
You know what's crap, though, Jason? Behind closed doors, coaches love it. They love it.
No doubt.
They love it. They love it. They love it. Okay, they can say whatever they want in a press conference and stuff, but they're sitting in those meetings going, "Yeah, I like the attitude of this offensive line."
Why does Zach Tom think he's going to get fined?
Getting kicked out of practice?
I mean, because if coaches love it, like the team wouldn't actually fine him. That was one of the things Tom seemed concerned about after practice, Jason, was that, I think I'm going to get fined. I'm going to have to appeal this fine. I hope they have video of it.
Yeah, my favorite part was that he said, I hope they have the full film of it, right? Because I believe he felt like he was antagonized by Ernest Jones, who, again, I find it preposterous that, and I'm glad that fans are able to do this, by the way. This is not a complaint. But I love the fact that fans in the stands are able to record whatever they want, and we're not. Like, again, like I said, those fights were right in front of me. I would have had some great Zapruder film for that. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do that. So the second fight I would also add was, I thought, worse than the first. And so I do like the fact that Zach Tom wants to make sure that all video evidence has been collected. I don't know if he's going to hire David Gruber or what his plan is legally. But, he believes that he was antagonized. Look, and I did not see this, I only saw the fight start, but if Ernest Jones was in the Packers huddle after a play going after one of the other offensive linemen, I think Zach Tom's got a pretty, good self-defense argument.
Yep.
Jason, obviously the final preseason game is this Saturday. Is there anybody who has made a case for themselves to make this roster that maybe you didn't think they would at the beginning, or they've surprised you with what they've done in training camp and in the games that fans can kind of key on in that game this weekend?
Yeah, well, this Matthew Golden fellow's pretty good, so keep an eye on him.
Sure,
I think he's got a chance of being all right.
You listening, Chew?
Yeah, 45.
But there's a couple of guys. Look, I don't think Isaiah Simmons has had a great camp. He and Bo Melton are their number one flyers on punt coverage, which I've never seen a guy the size of Isaiah Simmons be a gunner. So that tells me, you always got to keep an eye. What I've learned over the years is you always got to keep an eye on the special teams units, because that's a pretty good indicator of guys that are going to make the team. But Christian Welch, I still can't get over the fact. Here's a guy who grew up in Wisconsin, an hour from Lambeau Field, had arguably the best camp of any defensive player last year on the team, and still got cut. And whether it was Ted or Ron or Sherman or Goody before last year, I had never once heard a general manager say he should have made the team. And it's very hard to look a guy in the eye when he should have made the team and cut him. And Goody did. And now Christian Welch is back again, and he has had another really good camp. He's on the number one special teams units on all four of the units. So if he doesn't make the team again, I would assume that he will turn in his Packers fan card from his youth and burn his Brett Favre jersey in a small ceremony outside of his Iola, Wisconsin home, because he belongs on this roster.
Jason, is there a position will they be looking at the waiver wire on Tuesday?
Well, look, I hate their depth on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I and it's been exposed, and they can all say, well, we'll get everybody together and it'll be fine. I was asking Zach Tom after all the fight questions about that. And I like their top six, right? I think they've got 6 starting caliber guys, which is more than some teams have. But as we have seen, like when my favorite was during minicamp and Donovan Jennings worked with the number one offensive line, and Matt LaFleur, I think he knows who he is, but he didn't even know that Donovan Jennings was working with the number one offensive line. Like, you wouldn't have thought that losing Travis Glover to a season-ending shoulder injury based on how he played against Philly was going to be a real problem, but it's a real problem. Like, they have even last year, at least they had that former first-round pick, Andre Dillard, who had played in the league, right? And so he was their 7th or 8th guy, but if you needed him, he was there. And they just don't have anybody like that. So, I don't think there's a lot of good offensive linemen that get cut at the end of camp. I do like the new technique that teams have done in the last several years, where you trade a draft pick and then you get in exchange for a player and a lower draft pick. So it's kind of like Ron Wolf used to trade guys for, quote, past considerations, which would just allow him to give a player to a guy that he likes that runs another team and keep that player away from rival teams. So I think they're looking there. I still think they're going to look corner. But again, how many teams are cutting good corners? Probably not a lot.
Jason, last thing before we let you go, you saw the exchange between Kay Adams and Matt LaFleur, right, about Romeo Doubs?
Josh told me about that. I saw Kay Adams walk in with security, which I didn't. I'm going to start having security.
Ooh.
Take me everywhere.
Joshy, can you pull up?
I hear Chewy's.
I'm for hire.
Right? Yeah, Chewy's available for hire.
That would require him going out in public and
From 10 till 2.
I was going to say
she would have been better off with you cut a much more imposing figure than the security person you had. Anyway, go ahead.
Major caveats if Chewy is your security guard. So Joshy, go ahead and give us that sound from Matt LaFleur.
What does Romeo Doubs have to do to not have rumors about him being cut from this team?
Rome's not. I'd be very shocked if he ever was going anywhere.
There's words about that.
No, that will not happen.
Can you sort of explain why so confidently?
Because Rome is out there competing and doing everything that we need to see from him, and obviously he's played a lot of ball for us and at a high level, and he's been a great teammate, and he goes out there and you can count on him every day.
Okay, hell of an endorsement from the coach on Romeo Doubs. I also don't think that anybody thought that Romeo Doubs was getting cut. Again, I don't see
Traded,
it all.
but not
I don't
cut.
hear it all. I'm going to be very clear. Like, maybe I missed this one. Willing to admit that.
No, you didn't miss one. But I would just say this, and I don't know Kay Adams from. Well, I mean, I know Devontae Adams, so I actually know him much better. But I can't imagine. I don't have to do this. I don't have to know all 32 teams. I know the Packers, and then I study up on their opponent for the week, right? And I, go and find out that Shamar John Charles is on the Seahawks roster. So that to me, it's hard for me to criticize because I don't have to do that kind of stuff. But that is like if you have seen training camp, which she hasn't, Romeo Doubs has had almost as good of a camp as Matthew Golden. Secondly, all the other guys haven't practiced. Like, you're not going to move on from a guy while the rest of the guys are all coming back from injury. Third, the issue with Romeo Doubs is not them moving on from him now. The issue for Romeo Doubs is, after what happened last year, their reluctance to sign him to an extension because they don't know what they're going to get with him. Look, he's a different guy, and that's the politest way I can say it. But the guy's a really good player. Like, on 3rd and 7, the first person Jordan Love is looking to is him. So, we all have questions we'd like to have back. I wouldn't look at social media and faux beat writers or podcasters who make decisions on players and use that to formulate my questions to Matt LaFleur. But again, I'm there every day, and that is not something that has even come close to entering my mind. Had all those other wide receivers stayed healthy, and had they all had really good camps, maybe, and this is a colossal maybe, the Packers look and say, hey, we can get something for Doubs at the end of camp, and we feel really good about what Savion Williams has done for us or where Wicks and Reed are at because they had really strong camps. But none of that happened. They need Romeo Doubs. They need Romeo Doubs to start for them, frankly. Like yesterday, when they ran their first 11-on-11 play, they were 3 wides, and because of where they're at injury-wise, it was Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, and Mecole Hardman.
Who may not even be on the team this time next week.
Right. Maybe, I guess. But the bottom line is, if you're trotting out on the first play a 3-wide receiver set against the Lions, and you've released Romeo Doubs, and you're trotting out there Mecole Hardman and Matthew Golden and my guy Yukon Cornelius Johnson from Michigan, I don't like your chances.
Mm-mm.
So I'm not here to trash anybody. I would just say that that's a mulligan, and you probably like to have that question back.
Jason, we appreciate you hanging out with us. And thank you so much. Sorry, Joshy jumped in my ear. I got distracted. Sorry, Josh. I got it, Josh. Thanks for hanging out with us, Jason. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, everybody. Take care. Be good.
Sorry, I was not expecting that.
I thought you were moved.
by what Jason had to say?
Very strong endorsement of Romeo Doubs.
If you're
You really thought he was gone.
If you're looking to bring more organization and beauty.
Hey guys, it's Jen from Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Thanks for watching our clip. I'm sure it was super informative and educational. I'm just kidding. I love those knuckleheads. And we do it live every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you get informed anytime we drop new content.